And a glorious good Saturday evening to each and every one of you. This is A21 from Black Roses Garden Community Radio. And I'm coming to you real quick now because we've been having some technical difficulties. And so Rose is going to come on after me. And I'm not going to keep you long because if you've been following her page, I will again open up asking that you send prayers of healing for her family because they're going through it. Many of us are, but they're really going through it. So prayers up for that soldier. I always want to remind you guys that we've got a lot of work to do. I saw a post that she had sharing the book Tell All the Children by Tanya Bolden, which kind of chronicles our history and stuff that's not even shared with us in school. Some of the atrocities that many of our ancestors went through just so that we could benefit now. And I really hope you guys do not take that for granted and don't get complacent. Because as I always tell you, that the opposite of success is not failure. It is complacency. And we can't think that we have no more work to do, that we have arrived. The job of a citizen, as I'm going to continue to remind you, is to support and defend the Constitution. And even though we're not making $174,000 to do that, we have to support those folks that we sent to the kill and hold them accountable to echo what we've shared with them. Also, we need to stay informed of the issues affecting our community. And if January 6th didn't do nothing else, it affected every community across this country. And biggest is participate in the democratic process. All right, it's some more stuff, but you can look up the duties and responsibilities of a citizen and just check off what you're doing. And if it's something that you're not doing, get busy. And that's all I got to say about that. I've come to remind you yet again that being a citizen, just as Barack Obama told you the day before Donald Trump got inaugurated, he told you that on January 19th, 2017, that the most important job that you have is that of citizen. Now, it told you just 3 of the duties and responsibilities that you have. But if January 6th didn't tell you anything else, it should have told you that being a citizen, and when you work it and take it seriously, it can yield tremendous dividends immediately and long term. What January 6th showed you is there are people who are more than willing to take your choices away. The choices that my ancestors and your ancestors fought and died for us. It's not that they died for it. Know what they died for when you share this information with your children. They died so you could have a choice. They died so I could have a choice. And we can ill afford to squander that. Now, Rose shared when she showed you that book. We still got some work to do. We have made progress. We've even made some changes. But as I was reading in the Huffington Post today, on yesterday, there was, the Oakland Springs Cemetery in Allen Parish, Louisiana. Now, I've got family down in Louisiana. They refused to bury a black sheriff because of a 1950 state law saying that that particular cemetery was for whites only. That's a state law. Just like let that marinate for a minute. Somebody black a law enforcement officer, the only reason he can't be buried or memorialized in the cemetery is because of the color of his skin. So we got work to do all across this country. And as I've been sharing with you pretty much every day this week, and it's going to be every day next week too, is that we've got folks that don't need to be putting rules in place for us that they are exempt from. So we have to make these calls, because again, while expulsion from either the House or the Senate requires what's called a supermajority, requires 2/3. If we're going to expel the crazies like Lauren Boebert or Marjorie Greene or Matthew Cawthorn, who has even earlier this week said he knew it was a lie, but he was just on the bandwagon. But those folks who took an oath to support and defend the Constitution on January 2nd clearly broke that oath by promoting and encouraging folks to attack our legislative body on the Hill. Now, while a supermajority in the House would be 290 members, I don't see that. But a simple majority of the House can certainly get them censured, which would show the public that somebody is holding these folks accountable for their bad behavior. It would preclude those people from holding any kind of officerships, as McCarthy gave Marjorie Taylor Greene earlier this week. He put her on the Education Committee. Anyway, I'll get back to that. And Matthew Cawthorn from North Carolina was actually on the stage inciting the crowd and telling them just to threaten House of Representatives members lightly. Now, guys, those folks can be censured by a simple majority, and the Democrats can do that. Over in the Senate, it may be a little bit bigger problem, because with a simple majority in the Senate, they can censure and make Trump not be able to run for any office of trust ever again in this country. And Susan Collins and Tim Kaine are working on that now, even though that language is already in the impeachment papers that the House drew up. I'm not clear on what that means going to the Senate, but the fact that you have a bipartisan team working on a resolution to censure, I've got to do a little more homework on that. But you guys, too, can go to Article 1 of the Constitution, Section 5, in, I think it's the second clause, and see if you're reading the same thing that I'm reading. Because, again, censure, as far as I'm reading, both in the House and in the Senate, requires a simple majority. And with Democrats in charge of the House and in charge of the Senate, and I'm talking about that simple majority, and in charge of the White House, while I appreciate that Biden wants to have unity, and unity is nice, but unity says to me, I'm inviting you to the table so we can work this out. But if you don't want to come to the table, I say, since you got the power, why not wield it like Mitch McConnell did? Either go big or go home. That's why we put you there. There's going to be some pushback. But we, the people, just like they pushing from the right, we got to push back. Because they know that what has been presented, or what was presented last year, wasn't going to be enough to hold over families and businesses and that kind of thing. That Republican Senate knew that. But the Republican Senate also knew that infrastructure and those kinds of things that would benefit we the people needed to be passed. But Mitch McConnell used his power of the majority and just let the stuff sit. We got to push back, folks. We got to make the calls. We have to make the demands, because quiet as it kept. Those people work for us. So again, if you inbox me your email, I'm happy to send you the list. You can call your 2 senators in the United States Senate and your 1 member of the House of Representatives to let them know that these folks, their actions have to have consequences. They must be held to account. Cut and dry, pure and simple, full stop. And once you do your 2 senators and your 1 House member, pick any name from this list in the United States House and any name from this list from the United States Senate. Because what I have compiled on these 2 lists are folks who took that oath on January the 2nd. And still, while taking that oath, met with the Trump family and the folks. I think Ali Alexander was the head of the insurrection team, who met with Mo Brooks and Andy Biggs and Paul Gosar. That was before January the 2nd. And then Bama still, on January 2nd, took that oath to support, uphold, and defend the Constitution. They lied. And just by virtue of the rules that are in the United States Constitution, again, read it, please, so you can know. So I'm not speaking Greek to you guys. They knew when they took that oath that they was lying. So it's incumbent upon us, we the people, to get our folks together. I sent them, 4 people have inboxed me I've sent it out. They've inboxed me for these lists. People have also inboxed me before I got the list together for the language that to use, because they weren't clear. They knew the point, or they knew the goal, but they didn't know how to articulate it. So I've sent that out too. Anybody listening is more than welcome to that. And our game plan is, you get this list, you send it to 5 folks. And each of those 5 folks, you encourage them to send it to 5 of their folks. And tell them to encourage their 5 folks to do the same. And so on and so on. And we've got to call every single day. That's how you push back. I contend that the Lincoln Project is the best at messaging, getting a message across. And I intend to send a few quarters to them every month, because they have the same goal. They share the same values that I share as it relates to getting folks who are not pro-democracy out of our democratic legislature. Also, a new group came out just the other day, and that group is holding the same goal of getting these folks out of our legislative body, both the House and the Senate. And that is the Republican Accountability Project. What those folks are folks who Trump had fired at some point in his administration. So you know that's a pretty big group. But anyway, they're going after those folks who continue to perpetuate the lie that he won the election. And they're zeroing in on those folks like Ted Cruz and like Josh Hawley, who, after the insurrection, had the temerity, the nerve, the unmitigated gall to come back in that chamber and vote to advance the lie. Even though Hawley is backpedaling now, you did it. You encouraged it. Therefore, you do not belong in any legislative body making laws for me or anybody else. You don't belong there because you've already shared with us, you've already shown us that you don't believe in the Constitution, that you want a minority-run government, that you want a set of rules, one set of rules for white elite and another set of rules for the rest of us, when all of us have worked to grow and develop and advance this country. I'm not having that. And I know a whole lot more folks who are not having that either. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to call every single day. At minimum, you're making 3 calls. At maximum for me, I'm making 15. Because it's enough folks on that list that need to hear, that need to be reminded that whoever voted for you to support and defend the Constitution. If you're not doing it, you need to go out. And again, I want to remind you guys that to expel somebody is a lot more challenging than censure. And I would prefer that they be expelled. But you can only expel, according to the Constitution, an elected official to an office of trust with a 2/3 majority of the members. I think we just have 220 something in the House of Representatives, and a 2/3 majority in that chamber of Congress is 290. But a simple majority can get all these folks censured. And I would encourage Nancy Pelosi, which is one of my 15 calls that I make, push it. I know she got the guts to do it. She's probably trying to get buy-in from her caucus from all over the place. But that's got to happen. We cannot let these folks who try to overthrow the government, we can't let them get away with that. And there's something that you can do right now to make that happen. And the thing you can do is make the calls and send the emails. That's what you can do. I believe, here's another thing too that I would like you guys, because I know y'all got spare time. I already know it, because damn near every place is shut down except if you work in a grocery store or something like that. You got time to look this up. And the name is Henry Waxman. And I'm bringing his name up because I've often shared with you guys that we don't elect saviors. We elect workers. And Henry Waxman is probably a name that you have never heard. But he is responsible for so many pieces of legislation. He is doing what we send folks to the Hill to do. Draft legislation, get points of view from various folks, fine-tune it, and present it. He almost single-handedly shut down the tobacco industry in terms of the health benefits. He's a big health guy. And he was a he did most of the drafting of the Affordable Care Act. He's got bunches of pieces of legislation along the way, state health insurance for children, the Orphan Drug Act. He's done a lot. And while he is out of Congress, I think he said that he was not going to run again for his seat in 2015. Ted Lieu is the person who took his place in the United States House of Representatives. And Ted Lieu is no joke. These guys are from California. But again, this is stuff that you guys can bone up on while you are at home. And I encourage you to do that. I went to the store the other day again, and I just do stuff like just ask random folks questions. Do you know what the Bill of Rights is? They didn't know. It's first 10 amendments of the Constitution. And while you guys are at home with your children, instead of putting all that weight on your social studies teacher, why don't you all have some family time? Take an hour and go through that stuff. Because your kids need to know. You need to know. So you can take some action. And if we don't need nothing else about right now, we need lots of folks to roll up their sleeves, dust off their keyboards, polish up their dialing fingers, and make telephone calls and send emails. That's what we need. And if you have to work from home or you have to go out to work, I encourage you to assign somebody who is at home at your house to do that, because these elected officials need to get calls every single day. These elected officials need to get emails from us every single day. We have got to stop being complacent and showing up every 2 years for the House of Representatives, every 4 years for the general election for our president, and every 6 years staggered for our United States senators. And just as an aside, the House turns over every 2 years. You know that. We've shared it with you. But some of these senators who are on that staggered 6-year timetable, 34 of them, their terms expire in 2022. Some of them are on this list. Marco Rubio of Florida, Marco Rubio of Florida, who said impeachment was stupid. And he's a Bama, just as an aside, that I would love to have a conversation with, because he is throwing out process. One of them Bamas arguing the merit. So they know it needs to happen. They're scared for whatever reason they are. Then you have Rand Paul of Kentucky and Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, who are arguing that it's unconstitutional. And if you are from South Carolina or Kentucky listening to this, ask them, type them an email and say, what Constitution are they reading? Because I contend that they haven't read. Because what I read saying it's totally within the guidelines of the United States Constitution. And as a matter of fact, in 1876, a guy named Belknap, who was the Secretary of War, resigned his office because he had started taking bribes. He resigned his office. After he left, they impeached him. So again, Marco Rubio of Florida, whose term is over in 2022. Rand Paul of Kentucky, whose term is also over in 2022. And Lindsey Graham, who nobody's going to make me believe that he won that's fair and square from Jamie Harrison. But again, he's not up until 2026. those guys, they need to read the Constitution. Because clearly, I could be a senator. Because I know more than they do. And I'm willing to go to work. And I'm not so arrogant that I can't learn from somebody else. So that being said, I think that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. And again, I will be back with you on next week, but I'm going to turn the mic and the stage over to Black Rose, because she has some information that she wants to share with you as well. But always leave with, nobody is going to save us but us. You better know it. You better trust it. You better believe it. And above everything else, you better teach it to everybody that comes behind you. This is 821 from Black Rose's Garden Community Radio. I'm getting ready to go make Pop some biscuits on my 50th anniversary, because that's all he asked me for. And I can do that. I'm out.